For about 2 decades now, the Gonzaga Bulldogs have just been a monster in college basketball. I mean, under Coach Mark Few, their absolute worst season was still a 23-win season. They are the definition of elite. So how does a team that's already at the very top of its game find a way to get even better? Well, for Gonzaga, believe it or not, it all started with a loss.
Picture this. It all kicked off after a really tough game against Villanova, when head coach Mark Few had this kind of stunning realization. He felt his own team, a team famous for its incredible culture and connection, had just been beaten at their own game. He literally said Villanova out-zagged the Zags. And that feeling, man, it sparked a profound change. And really, that led to this one central question. When you're already one of the best, when you're already at that level, where do you even find an edge to become better? This is the exact puzzle that the Gonzaga coaching staff, led by Few and strength coach Travis Knight, set out to solve.
To really get their solution, first we have to understand the problem they were facing. So let's dive into that moment that really forced them to reevaluate, well, everything.
In their very first team meeting to figure out what was wrong, something absolutely fascinating happened. The players themselves, they were the ones who figured out that their biggest obstacles weren't about X's and O's or basketball skills. Nope. Almost all of their challenges landed on the human side of the whiteboard. We're talking things like connection, trust, and mindset.
So, to tackle these, human side challenges, they didn't just add more drills or watch more film. Instead, they created a dedicated space just for growth, a brand new framework they started calling Personal Growth Mondays. PGM? Yeah, it stands for Personal Growth Monday. It was this weekly meeting where the only focus was stuff that happened off the court. And what's really cool is that the coaching staff didn't just lay down the law and set the agenda. The team leaders, they bought in on one condition. They said, we want to start by setting goals. So, following the players' lead, they set one main goal that was going to drive everything else: get better every single day. And the only way to do that? Well, they had to move past their comfort zone and consistently step into what they called the growth zone. And to really hammer this idea home, the coaches shared this super powerful study. It compared the time 8th graders spent actively struggling in math class. For American students, it was just 2% of the time. But for Japanese students, a massive 40%. This point really hit home too, because Gonzaga's star player at the time, Rui Hachimura, was from Japan. This whole idea led to a massive mental shift. The team was coached to completely reframe what difficulty means. So instead of thinking, I'm doing bad when they struggled in a tough practice, they were encouraged to think, I'm getting better. It's the exact same situation, but a completely different energy, right? And this led to the big aha moment from their very first PGM. Struggle isn't a sign that you're weak. It's a non-negotiable part of achieving greatness. That realization completely changed the way they saw their coaches' super demanding practices. Okay, so with this new foundation, the team was ready to take their mindset to the next level. And for that, they turned to a legend who had actually visited them before, the one and only, the late, great Kobe Bryant. So for the second PGM, Travis Knight threw this classic question at the team. Are you driven by the love of winning, or do you just hate losing? I mean, most players, and probably most of us, fall into one of those two camps. The team pretty much guessed Kobe was a hates-to-lose kind of guy. But Kobe's answer was, well, it was a total surprise. He said he was neither. He explained that playing with a fear of failure or an overwhelming need to win, both of those are actually weaknesses. His motivation was different. He played to learn, to solve the puzzle of the game. He gave them a third path. And he took it even further. When someone asked him about failure, Kobe just said, it doesn't exist. For him, the only real failure was to just stop progressing. As long as you are learning and moving forward, you cannot fail. I mean, that is a radical redefinition of the entire concept. And this idea connected perfectly to a concept that was already in their world. The word kaizen, which is a Japanese term for continuous improvement, was literally painted on their weight room wall. Kobe's whole philosophy gave that word a powerful real-world meaning for them. Okay, so they've reframed struggle, and they've totally redefined failure. The next PGM tackled one of the toughest topics for any team: accountability. I mean, how do you hold each other to a super high standard without messing up the family atmosphere that you've built? They didn't just get a lecture about it. They did something really smart.
They broke the team into 3 groups, and each group had to analyze the pros and cons of a different accountability model. Coach policed, team policed, and self-policed. Then they had to get up and present their findings to each other, which forced them to really think critically about how accountability actually works.
And through that whole process, the team came to this really profound insight, maybe the most important one of all. They realized that you just can't have high accountability with high-quality relationships. Trust is everything. You can only truly challenge someone who you know deep down cares about you.
So, with this new culture really taking hold, the team was just on fire. They went out and won the Maui Invitational, which is one of the biggest preseason tournaments. But here's where the story takes a turn, because success itself became their biggest test. Just look at this timeline. After winning in Maui, they became the #1 team in the entire country. And of course, life got crazy with huge games on the schedule. And what was the very first thing to get pushed aside? Personal Growth Mondays. The players started joking that PGM now stood for Personal Growth to be Decided. And what happened right after that? Boom, they lost 2 straight games. But this is where the culture they had built really proved its strength. The team's leaders, the players, went to the coaches and told them that letting PGM slide felt like they were abandoning a core part of their identity and their success. That dedicated space to work on the human side wasn't some luxury. It was essential. And to their immense credit, the coaching staff listened. They realized their mistake. They immediately recommitted to the process. And the team did not miss a single Personal Growth Monday for the rest of the season. So when you boil it all down, Gonzaga's journey teaches us this incredibly powerful lesson. Winning is about so much more than just talent. It's about embracing struggle, it's about building accountability on a rock-solid foundation of trust, and it's about understanding that the very process that gets you to the top is the one you have to protect if you want to stay there. Which really just leaves us with a final thought to chew on. When things get hectic in your work or your life, when the pressure is really on, what's the first thing that gets pushed to the side? And now, after seeing Gonzaga's story, what do you think the real cost of that sacrifice might actually be?